Cardinals, bishops, fellow priests, fellow Holy Cross religious, Notre Dame Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, and students of the University of Notre Dame, the Hesburgh family, and all the friends of Father Hesburgh. My condolences to everyone. I share your grief. We send forth a great friend and a great priest. You know, at Notre Dame, I'm often faced with daunting tasks, but none are more difficult than the one before me. Finding words to do justice to the life of Father Theodore M. Hesburgh, C.S.C. At last night's wake service, Father Malloy gave a beautiful reflection to which is difficult to add. What I want to do today is simply reflect on the various parts of Father Ted's remarkably rich life in the context of this funeral mass. We should begin with what was central to his life. He was a priest and avowed religious in the congregation of Holy Cross. For all the momentous events in which he played a role, all the honors he received, Father Ted always said that the most important day of his life was when he was ordained a priest here in this church on Notre Dame's campus. As a religious, he was vowed to poverty and obedience. He lived in a small, austere room, shared meals and common prayer with the Holy Cross community, and will soon be laid to rest under a simple cross, undistinguishable from the graves of the Holy Cross brethren who lay with him. Father Ted's clear wish was that his funeral and burial would be as far as possible like those of other Holy Cross religious. In remembering Ted's life, we must also, of course, speak about his devotion to and love of the University of Notre Dame, an institution he led for 37 years and which was transformed under his leadership. When he became president, Notre Dame was a good school with just under 5,000 students, a $10 million operating budget, and a $9 million endowment. When he retired, it had just under 10,000 students, $176 million operating budget, and a $350 million endowment. He oversaw the establishment of a lay and clerical board of trustees and the admission of women as undergraduates. But the most important thing he gave us at Notre Dame was the vision to be a great Catholic research university and the confidence to realize that dream. The success we enjoy today was inspired by the vision Father Ted helped us to believe in. Controversy follows transformative leaders, and it did with Father Ted. In his efforts to make Notre Dame a great university, critics argued, he lessened its commitment to its Catholic mission. In a famous 1967 Land O'Lakes statement, he insisted on academic freedom and institutional autonomy for Catholic universities. And some said Father Ted contributed to tendency to secularization. I must say that in all my conversations with him, Father Ted's abiding concern was with Notre Dame's fidelity to its Catholic mission. Yet he was always convinced that Notre Dame could not serve the church and the world effectively unless it sought genuine scholarly excellence, and this could not be achieved without enjoying appropriate institutional autonomy and academic freedom. In all he did, Father Ted's leadership sought to strengthen Notre Dame as a truly great, truly Catholic university. He succeeded beyond measure. A third part of Father Ted's legacy was his role in addressing the great issues of his day. The arc of Father Ted's life extended through the Great Depression, World War II, the post-war years, the Civil Rights Movement, The reforms of the Second Vatican Council, the Vietnam War, campus unrest of the 1960s, the Cold War, and the disillusionment of Watergate. He was shaped by them all and helped shape many. He is justly celebrated as a founding member of the Commission on Civil Rights and as an advocate for civil rights for African Americans in this country. Father Malloy mentioned last night the 1964 photo of Father Ted locked arm in arm with Martin Luther King singing at Soldier Field in Chicago, an image that has become iconic for us here at Notre Dame. King has become for us a revered figure. But in 1964, he was seen by many as a black rabble-rouser from the South. The mayor of Chicago and the bishop's office in Chicago had declined to participate in this rally. The morning of the rally, Father Ted got a call asking him to be there. What time was his only question. He immediately got in the car and traveled to Chicago. In the early 1970s, as chairman of the Civil Rights Commission, Father Ted was critical of the government's lack of commitment to civil rights. In 1970, the commission produced a highly critical report, and Father Ted was asked by the administration to postpone its publication until after the midterm elections. He refused and continued to speak out. When he was reelected in 1972, President Nixon asked for the resignation letters from all members of the commission, which they duly submitted. Father Ted's resignation alone was accepted, and his 15 years on the Civil Rights Commission came to an abrupt end. As we look back on these events, with the rise of Martin Luther King in our estimation, and the decline of the Nixon administration after Watergate, we can miss the controversy around Father Ted's actions and the courage it took to do them. For his work on the Civil Rights Commission, he received death threats. My basic principle, Father Ted said, is that you don't make decisions because they're easy. You don't make them because they're cheap. You don't make them because they're popular. You make them because they're right. That moral imperative shaped everything Father Ted did in the public realm. He served on President Ford's clemency board, which decided the fates of those convicted of draft-related offenses during the Vietnam era. He chaired the Overseas Development Council, which helped the poor of the developing world. He played a critical role in saving the lives of countless Cambodian refugees after the murderous brutality of the Khmer Rouge regime. He chaired the Select Commission on Immigration and Refugee Policy, which led to important immigration reform. He helped lead efforts to reduce the threat of nuclear weapons in the midst of the Cold War. His work in the public realm was driven by moral concerns about civil and human rights, peace, and serving the needs of the poorest. He was often regarded as the conscience of the bodies on which he served. He was a great American. He was a great citizen of the world. Fourth and finally, in reflecting on Father Ted's life, we must also note the thousands of unheralded acts of kindness to people he encountered. It's well known that Father Ted had an open-door policy for students who wanted to talk to him, and he gave them counsel and encouragement. After a soul-searching conversation with Father Ted, a young undergraduate, David Gauss, decided to travel to Ecuador and spend 2 years as a volunteer in an orphanage and saw that women and children there lacked access to basic medical care. He returned to the States intent on becoming a doctor and returning to Ecuador to provide that care. Father Ted called his friend Epi Lederer, famous author of the Ann Landers column, who at Father Ted's urging helped fund Gauss's medical studies. After completing medical school, David founded the Andean Health and Development Center to serve the needs of the poor in Ecuador. In 2009, when my invitation to President Obama to speak at our commencement caused an uproar, a number of people approached my mother to criticize the decision. She was understandably anxious about her son. Father Ted got wind of that, and without mentioning anything to me, he called my mother to reassure her. My mother has never in her life appreciated a phone call more. She had no more worries after that, and from that day forward, she and Father Ted were fast friends. I can't begin to tell you all the kindnesses he showed me personally. "You are doing a great job," he would say. "Keep it up." But he would say this not when we had announced some success or achieved some milestone. He would say it at the most trying and difficult times. These are just a few of the thousands of acts of kindness that Father Ted quietly and without fanfare helped people who needed it. They too are part of his legacy. They are among the reasons why he is not only celebrated, but beloved. How can we sum up the remarkable life of an admired university president, a champion of civil rights, peace, and the poor, a friend of so many, both great and ordinary, and someone who was always generous to those who came to him with any need? How can we draw together the strands of a life that spanned so many years, served in so many realms, and touched so many lives? Father Ted gave us the answer often. He was, first and foremost, a priest. That vocation drove him to build a great Catholic university. It gave his work in the public life its moral focus. It shaped his generosity in all his personal interactions. He often spoke of priest as pontifex, which is a Latin term from ancient Rome that survives in the Catholic Church. It translates literally as bridge builder. A priest builds bridges between people to draw them together to serve the common good, and builds a bridge between human beings and God. When he was reflecting on his decision to enter the seminary at a very young age, he said, "I always wanted to be a priest." He said that he saw a priest as standing between God and man with traffic going both ways. And being a priest, he said, would give him a great power to do great good for everyone I meet. Father Ted prayed that on the last day of his life, he would be able to celebrate Mass. At 11 a.m. at Holy Cross House, last Thursday, Father Ted joined the community and celebrated Mass. In the evening, he was struggling to breathe and fading. Jim Hesburgh, Ted's younger brother, and his wife Mary were there. Priests and brothers from the community visited to say goodbye. Some staff members who were off duty came in to be with him he was surrounded by people who loved him. He passed away quietly, just before midnight. Today we gather to celebrate the Mass Father Ted so loved and to commend him to God. If we live for the Lord, said St. Paul in today's reading. And if we die for the Lord, so that whether we live or die, we are the Lord's. In life, Ted gave himself to the Lord, and now we commend him to that same Lord. We cannot but believe that the Lord will respond in the words of today's gospel reading. Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom. We loved you, Ted. We now commend you to the God whom you served so faithfully. We will miss you, but we know that you now rest in the arms of Notre Dame, Our Lady, who throughout your life gave you strength, sustenance, and guidance. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him.